everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the AMA today. This is December 29th, so we're going to take a little time at the beginning to kind of wrap up 2022. Big year, Alex.
I think hello, everyone.
I think we did pretty well, all in all. The ecosystem saw a lot of growth and development this year. It's kind of a crazy year. Looking at the entirety of the markets, a lot of things blew up, a lot of just crazy nonsense. But I think in terms of Ergo development, we did pretty well. Probably the best year so far.
So we made some wrap-up video, which will be published soon in coming days. In general, that was pretty good year.
Pretty good year. We saw a lot of growth on the application level. NFT marketplaces coming out. ErgoPad did a series of projects. In the core, we had probably our biggest upgrade to date. 5.0.
So a few protocol updates, EAP27, EAP37, 5.0. And so currently we are discussing what could be next, what could be useful for the ecosystem. That's the good achievement that after all the protocol updates, we have even more nodes in the network, and everything is working stable. So I'm running a few 4.0 as well as 5.0 nodes, so they're running fine. And after 5.0 activation, hopefully we will not see issues on miner side with block generation and so on, happened a few times in early 2021. And stability is also valuable test.
Yeah.
Right. Oh. And for finally, it seems the network.
We've seen a lot more stability. A year ago we were kind of, I'm going to say the word hostage to Yoroi in terms of the user experience. And now we've got a variety of really great wallets that interact with the blockchain, whether it's Safe Wallet, Mobile, Ergo, Nautilus, that was...
Minotaur.
Yeah, Minotaur, huge benefit to the user experience.
Wallet-wise, things also more stable. So, wallets I'm using definitely running better than 1 year ago.
Yeah, 1 year ago it wasn't that uncommon to load Yoroi and get stuck with the circle.
Even Nautilus is working better, so less issues with connector, with Spectrum, and so on. So overall, things are working pretty smooth now.
Yeah, we had a good dev update yesterday too. We'll do a video. I might end up doing that with QX. But we'll kind of break down, what's the newest development. We saw Rosen is progressing. We saw Duck Pools is in conversation with ErgoPad, and we may see some, partnership or collaboration there. Spectrum is still, working its way towards market. So a lot of good stuff in development.
Yeah, and we are waiting for launch of new applications such as Rosenbridge, dark pools, right? Dexy also. Then what else? And I believe after those things, so we will see even more possible applications, right? Filling gaps in the decentralized finance.
Yeah, it's hard to predict growth. That's kind of a beautiful thing, though. In a decentralized ecosystem, is good ideas come out, and I'm definitely looking forward to a couple of Ergo hacks throughout the next year, because that seems to be one of the areas, at least, that really gives birth to good ideas in our ecosystem. So you want to hop into the questions? Let's see. What do we got? Looks like we have a question from FC. And he said, is the data set Alex used when analyzing EIP37 available? Not to bring up old shit, or shiz, I guess they did that politely, but still seeing the up-down throughout the day. Possible to further smooth the difficulty adjustment without an EIP.
Oh, so another hard fork is needed. For data sets, simulations are open sourced. They're in the let me check which repo I've forgotten. Available.
I think it's in the EIP37 repo. But yeah,
probably there. But
that was
forgotten actually. So I will jump on discussion, so we can discuss for more. There is no ideal solution, I guess here, because we have adaptive strategy, right? And you are going to tackle an unknown adaptive strategy with a static algorithm, right? Then any solution would be suboptimal, right? We can compare with others, like that Bitcoin Cash algo, for example, which is basically delaying response, right? Not sure that this this is definitely a suboptimal approach as well. Not sure. Well, it's better. There are also proposals to use some per block adjustment, but that's basically introducing new trust assumptions on to time provider. So it's in introducing new possible attacks actually, as many nodes could use network time providers.
Yeah, it's an interesting, let's just say, outstanding issue. I'm not sure what the best difficulty adjustment would be in reality. EIP 37 did kind of come out of necessity, so we compare, and it's not exactly optimal, but it is performing and keeping blocks within a much closer range of time, which is probably the biggest issue that led to the need for EIP 37. We still have the forum. So I've always thought, maybe it's a stopgap solution depending on what the community comes up with, right? It's, in my opinion, something that's probably just needs more research as a whole. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm checking number of blocks per day regularly. So yeah, it's within a few percent margin. So
yeah, I mean, it certainly was a big step up to where we were.
Yeah, I mean, also it makes sense after some time to measure number of blocks per some long periods, like few months or 1 year. Compare it with Bitcoin Cash, for example, right? Because I mean, simulations or short-term periods are not so good, maybe, right, as long-term observations.
Yeah.
Let's see. So currently, I see no any big issues, and maybe in like 2 to 3 months we can compare number of blocks versus number of observed generated blocks versus expected number since EP37 activation.
Yeah. The sad thing, and probably one of the, I don't know, bigger sub stories of 2022 that kind of got buried beneath all the other macro shit that was imploding was proof of work itself. Post merge, I always kind of tried to warn the community we're probably going to go through some phase of consolidation, and we're still in that. It's rough time for miners out there in terms of profitability. And hopefully as we move into the future, we get broader support for proof of work throughout the industry. But it's kind of been a narrative that's lost a little bit of popularity over the years. I think that at some point it'll shift back, but doesn't seem we're there yet. Hopefully 2023 is the year where, proof of work becomes more interesting again.
Yeah, I guess so. Even now, it's doing quite well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Proof of work cryptocurrencies performing pretty good, right, in comparison with proof of stake centralized pseudo blockchains like Solana and EOS and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's always been kind of rough for proof of stake in bear markets because they have this mechanism of kind of generating liquidity for holders that proof of work doesn't. And sometimes that can create some extra pressure on the sell side, I believe. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Go down.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, when you're getting money, right, getting interest just for doing nothing, basically, then easy come, easy go. So you definitely have extra pressure in such system.
All right, so we've got a question here from Cardano Proxies NFT. Can we talk on the Rosen Bridge? What do you want to talk about, buddy? Looks like at this point MHS is still making sure that everything is solid before we go to public testnet. Rosenbridge was probably born from just pure frustration, working with the gravity bridge, SUSI, the wormhole, and seeing issues with all of those designs. So I guess we kind of tried to come up with our own ergocentric bridge that, looks like initially will link to Cardano, but it's not really Cardano dependent. It'll also link to, probably a variety of chains by the end of this year. I would predict, we'll get, I don't know, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 other chains involved. Let's see how the development goes. That certainly does offer, let's say, external market access, not only to the Erg token itself, but you can look at all of the projects that are on Ergo. They will have the potential to build liquidity in other markets. And then we also have the flip side, where you have, let's say, external liquidity that could then come in and use Ergo's DeFi and tooling to potentially, offer some benefits. So we'll probably see, coins, tokens from other systems in our ecosystem, and hopefully that helps bootstrap some unique DeFi. It'll be interesting to see, especially with Babel fees, to where, you can take a coin or a token from another ecosystem and use that as the transaction fee in a foreign ecosystem. That's kind of a really neat use case. What do you have to offer? Insights and Rosen. Alex?
Maybe it would be good to organize MA session with the Rosen team.
I think,
coming days or weeks.
I think it would be. They've had their head down. They've been pretty busy, and so I think having some community engagement and maybe even some community marketing support would be a good idea, just in terms of building visibility for them. I know I recommended to MHS that he look into potentially spinning up Cha-Ching once they're on, let's say, public testnet, and that way, everybody can kind of see and follow. Let's see. We've got a question from Fo. He says, what is the most exciting sort of opportunities that Oracle V2 can bring to Ergo? You want to answer that, or do you want me to take a crack at it?
So there are a few new features. So in the first place, now you can transfer Oracle token from one key to another. That means you can, for example, sell your position in Oracle pool, which is leading to new, interesting applications, right, economically. And also, rewards are being paid now in special tokens and without dust being created. So, currently Oracle pools creating a lot of dust on the blockchain. This will be fixed in the new version. There are other updates, but I think from outside, those changes are most important, right? So reward token allows to actually build rewarding the oracles into other protocols, right? By providing share of profit stream into liquidity pool, for example, right, with Oracle reward token paired with Ergo CQSD, for example. Economically speaking, this would be more interesting, right, from different angles.
Yeah, and as we build out the Oracle data set, if there's a use case there, that type of flexibility and economic efficiency is just going to perform better in terms of bootstrapping DeFi frameworks. It's one of those things. It depends what the developers come up with and what's creative and what has a market. But I certainly would love to see a lot of community engagement and small operators playing around with Oracle V2, because hopefully in the future that can become some sort of group that developers can call upon as they need a new price feed. Let's see. Next question is from Augustus Kent. He said, my favorite thing that happened in 2022 is the development of the Android mobile wallet and the integration of Ergo Pay and Mosaic. That's great. Yeah. Ergo Pay is pretty nice. A pretty nice UX coming from the mobile phone. Mr. Salfelga outdid himself there. I would say, the really nice user experience. Let's see. FC said, thanks again for the frank discussion on EIP 37. For Rosenbridge, from what I understand, the execution is on Ergo, so could any chain in theory be linked to Ergo or not? Yeah, all of the execution is on the Ergo side. You do need a multi-sig wallet or a threshold wallet on the other chain and some ability to, let's say, lock tokens in that wallet and potentially mint. It's like if you link to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin doesn't have any type of native asset, you're not going to exactly mint Ergo, but you could lock the Bitcoin in a multi-sig or threshold and then mint a wrapped version on Ergo. But that's kind of the design, is to try to limit the execution environment to a single environment.
So from the other chain, only multi-sig is needed, so even Bitcoin then could be chained, right, breached with the help of the Rosenbridge. And so it's also about more secure design, right? Mm-hmm. Because with complex scripts on Ethereum and Solana and other chains. So actually a lot of possible bugs, right? Exploits and so on. In case of Solana, as was with wormhole bridge hack, it seems even multi-sig can be compromised, right? But so for most of the chains, hopefully, the situation would be better.
Yeah, it's never made much sense to me to always scale your points of attack as you scale a bridge. That's always, I guess even history has shown that there's a lot of failures to point to in that regard. So I do think that having that execution environment, limited on Ergo, at least in terms of the logic, is good. Then it's just a matter of distributed assumptions, I guess. Right?
Right, and so theoretically, multi-sig on another chain should be secure, but as we know from this Solana bridge hack. Well, even this could not be the case, unfortunately. So even for such simplest things, quasi blockchains like Solana could be totally insecure. But yeah, what can we do about that?
Well, just got to pick your partners well in life, I guess. You know, that is one like long-term question that's quite interesting with bridging, actually. Is, you know, you do kind of inherit some security concerns depending on who you partner with, right? If you partner with a chain that then gets 51%, you know, could that interfere with you know, the bridge? Potentially. So there is some like long-term relationship stability that, you know, we need to take into account looking at you know.
Right, and then so even if you have USDT coming from bridge, so it could be of different quality, right? So for example, USDT coming from Solana, should be cheaper, in a rational market than USDT coming from Ethereum or Omni, right? So yeah, actually not so sure about Ethereum. So it also depends how multi-sig is done on Ethereum side, because we had parity multi-sig bug, for example, with tens of millions of USD lost, because even multi-sig was not done properly in parity library contract. The idea is that your USDT coming from different chains could be of different price even, right? Depending on security of another chain and multi-sig implementation there.
No, you just got to be careful what wagon you hitch your horses to, right? Because you might go down some crazy trails. That's something we got to think about with Rosen, because you do inherit some concerns or assumptions depending on who you partner with. Hopefully, you know, as that community grows, you know, they start having a good discussion about that, not just the short-term liquidity boost, but kind of the long-term stability of certain partners. Dexy Gold, when's the white paper due?
I will pin white paper today, I guess, in the Telegram group, and it's publicly available anyway in the repository. The latest version is in LaTeX only, but I will put PDF into the repository as well. Currently, still discussing how it could be improved, and also checking some papers on stablecoin stability and instability zones, and any improvements possible. Which could be understood, not hidden under governance magic. Contracts, most of them are done. Only for some of them, discussions still are ongoing. I think Yeah, I will create also some forum posts on contracts used there. So some of them could be reused in other applications. So yeah, that's the current status.
Yeah, I was also asked by the community at one point, I think on Telegram, maybe it was Discord, I can't remember. Actually, they're bridge, so same thing these days. To make a video for Dexy, and once things are a little bit more ironed out, I'll do my best to try to make like a high-level, simple video about Dexy, how it works, what users can look for. I think that type of assumptions and education is important. So that's something that I'll work on, and who knows, maybe I'll get some community help there as well. That'd be nice to see. Let's see. Next question is Tech Fabi. Have you recently talked to Charles Hoskinson and asked him what he thinks Ergo needs? It's a tough time. I love this project and want it to explode. Yeah. Charles has always been a supporter of Ergo for years. The last time I talked to him, maybe 2 months, had lunch with him. The thing is, he's also a very busy guy, right? So I don't like to go to anybody and be like, "Yeah, save us, help us." He's been supportive of Ergo. Periodically, he name drops us on his AMAs and talks about what we're doing. I know longer term, he's said in the past that, he'd be happy to increase, let's say, his support for the Ergo ecosystem. But, life usually breaks down to, free time, free energy, free attention. And he's a busy guy, right? So I'm not going to really babysit him or try to manipulate him in terms of how he uses his time, his energy, and his attention in his life. He said that, so I assume, he'll help us out when he has time and energy. He did, give us a Twitter account and has, given us some marketing support throughout the years. So it's a good friend to have. Let's see what the future brings. Anything to add on that, Alex?
Not much. So last time I met Charles in Dubai, it was early April, I believe, or late March, something like that.
Yeah, we did a video on it. All right. Bilal says Ergo is only slipping down and down. Not sure what's wrong with Ergo. Yeah, markets, that's just the condition lately. Consolidation phase. It's one of those things. The ecosystem gets better, but the tide's going out in the macro. So can't fight the ocean. Just keep building. Kind of the nature of cyclical markets and sometimes volatility. And then macro stuff on the outside of the crypto industry is also fun at the moment, but that's all right.
Well, in cryptocurrencies, emission is not tied with market conditions, right? The volatility is always high, right? It's not enough coins during bull market. And there is excessive supply during bear market. That's the usual thing. But also, we have emission reduction now, like every 3 months, right? So next one will be in less than 2 weeks, right? Then we will have 3 emission reduction in 2023. 3 more, right? So that's 12 ERC per block, so about 8K per day reduction, right? And then I guess it's also about how much ERC locked, right, in different applications. Liquidity providing tools, liquidity providers on centralized exchange, and so on, right? So I see nothing to be worried about here, actually.
Yeah, that's the nature of the market. I do think that there's a lot of things that tend to appear in, let's say, good conditions, right? To where the market can absorb their emission rate and it doesn't create excess supply. And then, markets tend to be somewhat cyclical in the crypto industry. And one side, let's say, hits the other part of the cycle, the excessive emissions can, really be a negative because market forces just don't absorb them. And so naturally it creates sell pressure. So we'll see. It's an interesting thing long term. But then, cyclical markets tend to, let's say, reverse in time. And I hope that once we see that turnaround in this industry, a lot of the work that we're doing now, pays dividends into the future. Let's see.
Actually, it would be interesting to get statistics, but probably not possible. How much ERC bought from staking income, right? So, I mean, if people are getting some staking rewards, right, in proof of stake cryptocurrencies. How much ERC bought from such rewards? Because people do realize that fixed emission in the long term could provide better results.
Yeah, that would be fascinating. I don't think we would be able to even collect that market data, but that's an interesting point where you can, essentially take a proof of stake position where you get, I don't know, free interest, let's call it, .work, and then you buy work. That's an interesting thought experiment.
Actually, with Rosenbridge, so if proof of stake cryptocurrencies will be brought on the Ergo blockchain, right? And at least ADA will be brought, right? So then, the question is where staking income, for example, will go, right?
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
So maybe there could be some plans like automatically buying ERC, for example, right? So, if staking rewards will go in form of raped ADA, right, on the Ergo blockchain to the raped ADA holders, and then at least statistics could be obtained, right, in regards with that metric.
I'm not even sure what the mechanism is there, buddy. Like, you lock ADA on the Cardano side in that wallet, right? And then I guess the question is it going to be staked from that guard wallet, right? And then if it is staked from the guard wallet, how do you pay that out, like on the other chain? Because let's say it's a liquid asset that, let's say I wrap my ADA through Rosen, put it on Spectrum in the liquidity pool, and it's, in there bouncing in and out and around as people trade. And, so as an asset, like in the Ergo ecosystem, it's going to be, highly fungible and hard to keep track of who owns it at any given block. And then, what happens to the rewards on the Rosen side? I actually don't know how proof of stake deals with that. That's an
interesting question. The thing is that if the delegation from multi-sig possible on Cardano. I don't know, actually.
I think they have some form of staking via smart contract, but I think it might just be like staked and then you get some kind of derivative that represents ADA, but don't quote me on that because I honestly don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because it's not where but I would imagine something like that. And if that's the case, where you could, in theory, like bridge something and then keep the staking rewards, that's even weirder. So I don't know, a lot of assumptions to look at there. I haven't really considered.
All right, but that's interesting thing actually, right? And in regards with other blockchains, so if staking is possible from contract, then that's an interesting question.
I think it's a derivative, like LSD, where you have some like synthetic version of the token that then represents a call on the stake token, something like that. Some DeFi magic.
Oh, interesting. And then you can wrap it on the Ergo blockchain. What to do with it?
I have no idea. I mean, a lot of the times you get into these weird derivatives in DeFi where you kind of rehypothecate without calling it rehypothecating things, right? Your assumptions get a little bit more complex, but I don't know. It's even in DeFi, I always find that interesting. Like you take a token, you lock it, you get some synthetic version, and then it's like, okay, well, is the price feed for that synthetic version locked on that base locked asset, or does it create a secondary market that references price, which seems to make a little bit more sense, but I don't know. Luckily, that's not a problem in proof of work, but I guess we might inherit some of it with the bridge. So it's good to catch up on that. I don't know is the honest answer.
All right. But also that's not related to the question been asked. Right.
So how did Ergo do so well during the bear market last time if it was launched when the price was low in the beginning and thus mining unprofitable? I think you always have spec mining. We did have non-outsourceable pools, and we had a lot of people in the mining community that were pretty excited for the idea of miner-driven governance and what Ergo could potentially do. So I think if you look at most proof of work networks when they first start, it's somewhat speculation based. Alex, I got a question for you. For my personal and other people's understanding, could you explain the main advantages of the UTXO versus an accounting model?
All right. So UTXO is more friendly to different scalability solutions, right? Also layer 2 protocols because, well, it's simpler about on-chain state, right? So it's whether spent or not. So off-chain solutions are easier for UTXO. And also in many cases it's about much more efficient solutions, right? Also, UTXO is more friendly to privacy enhancing applications such as mixers, for example, right? Because, well, if you have long-living accounts, it's not possible to quite not possible to formalize privacy leaks at all. Right. So yeah, because of UTXO, actually, we have such applications as well, UTXO and Sigma protocols. Right. We have such applications as Ergo Mixer to start with. And yeah, also for some applications, UTXO is much more efficient solution.
Yep. Let's see. What's on the roadmap for 6.0? It's still a work in progress. What's the latest with that, Alex?
All right. So yeah, mostly we are discussing adding new types and instructions to the Ergo tree, right? So to basically enhancing contracts. In regards with the other parts of the core protocol, so yes, still, well, it's only about discussions, right? I mean, nothing is well considered or got well enough support, seems.
All right. Let's see. Terry Moore, same user. What's the experience of developing on Ergo compared to Cardano? Any insights? You'd have to ask, you could ask Ilya, Spectrum team. You have to ask developers who build on Cardano.
Yeah, also Rosen, right? And we have now more teams building on both chains, Perplexus.
Yeah.
Right. Some NFT projects, as far as I know, like Blitz, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, more and more projects are building on both chains. So I guess maybe there are some texts already published. We can ask teams to publish writings about the experience.
Yeah, I know there's some differences in terms of, like minting policies and that, but you'd have to ask somebody who's boots on the ground there. It's not me. Let's see.
Yeah, and my knowledge about Cardano capabilities mostly from 2020, 2019. So yeah, maybe things are different, very different now.
I would assume so. Let's see. Same user, Terry Moore. Will 6.0 have side chains or a sidechain framework?
Yeah, so that's the good question. So we are slowly discussing sidechain designs, and then the question is, do we need for anything in the core protocol, right? Maybe not even, but maybe some things would be useful. For example, Merkle tree support. Then you can read data from the extension section of a block in smart contracts, and then you can write maybe side chain state, right, in that extension section. So yeah, digest of sidechain state, and then work on it in the Ergo blockchain, for example. Right. Then that's the way how can you access sidechain data in the Ergo blockchain, and the other way can be done. in a simpler way because, well, we are building a sidechain. Aiming to be aware of the Ergo main chain. So something like that. So maybe some changes in the core protocol, additional instructions, data type, so on would be useful. But yeah, there are possible ways to build side chains basically as smart contracts on the Ergo blockchain, even with current Ergo 3 capability. So, yeah, there is a plan to write down designs, right, for side chains. Maybe we will find time for that in 2023. So that's in the plan, actually, for the 2023. And yeah, it seems currently as things are running stable, so it's a good time, right, to consider sidechaining designs and layer 2 designs. And well, even if we are not talking about implementing them soon, so having design documents to consider, well, enhancing the core protocol if needed, right, or just having these docs for implementing sidechains further when needed.
Let's see what we got. Says, hello, Armenio. When can we expect more sex listings for our very Ergo? Yeah, it's always a work in progress, talking with exchanges. You know, right now there's a lot of macro uncertainty with exchanges, not only in terms of, let's say, the broader environment, which has been painful, but also the regulatory environment. So there's a lot of eggshell walking going on. But that's certainly something that we'll continue to work on. It's always just a matter of cost and opportunity. So it's got to make sense based on the treasury position that we have. Let's see. Next, I know we talked about it, but I missed it. Are there currently any staking options for liquidity? The application level is going to be what solves that. Primarily, this is work. So, you know, if you want a return on your ERG, you have to put your ERG to work in some way. And as the ecosystem evolves, there will be different opportunities with, you know, different risk reward assumptions that users need to be aware of. But certainly that is going to be one of the core intents of DeFi. So Alex, what will be the scaling solution? Does Ergo have a version of Hydra or ZK Snarks?
So Hydra is possible, right? But yeah, that's the solution for certain applications, as well as other layer 2 solutions, right? So they have assumptions, and they tie to some use case. So Lightning Network also possible on Ergo, right? By modifying servers available for Bitcoin and yeah, rewriting contracts. But that's yeah, possible. And yeah, other layer 2 solutions also possible. So we have quite unique designs published on the forum, right, based on trees Well, it depends on applications, right? Which solutions are actually needed. So, let's see how this field will evolve.
All right. Terry Moore says, what type of regulatory hurdles do you think Ergo will have an advantage when it comes to other chains as well as challenges? Probably the biggest advantage I would think is proof of work. Probably the biggest challenge in net is, the desire to encourage privacy and permissionless ecosystem.
Oh, I actually think that Sigma protocols, is a good solution for privacy, but also, from a legal point of view, right? The core protocol is not enforcing privacy, not promoting it, right? So basically, it's more or less the same as possible in Bitcoin, especially with some minor modifications in the core protocol, right? So but just with not so efficient way, right? The question is how can you distinguish privacy coins from non-privacy coins? That's a whole new level, right?
Yeah, and it's also
of discussions in the space,
making the assumption that regulators are intelligent, which I don't think we can, at least where I'm from, I don't think we can clearly make that assumption.
Right, but the point of cryptocurrencies mostly, I believe, throughout all those years is to make them confused, right?
Yeah.
So how to put rapidly evolving technology into the existing framework, which is not intended for that technology in the first place at all.
Yeah, trying to make it fit in the 1930. It's super. Anyway, the reality is, I think these systems were built for purposes without, to try to eliminate third parties. So who invited them anyway?
Right. Yeah. But the more interesting questions for regulators, the industry may have is the better, right? Then for example, that's classification of privacy coins, non-privacy coins, right? At some point, it's not black and white, right? So how can regulation work given that?
Well, I think that a lot of people start with the assumption that regulators are intelligent. I think that's a leap, to be honest. I think that'll just be based on what's populist and what the reaction is. That's how they tend to do things, in my opinion.
Right, but so if regulators are confused, so for some time they're not doing anything. Usually, hopefully. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I think that's probably about an hour. Anything else you want to cover, Alex, before we sign off for the day?
I think, quite enough for now, especially as we have a video with 2022 wrap up coming
Yep.
So yeah, happy holidays, everyone. So yeah, we have Catholic and Protestant Christmas already gone. All right, then New Year, Happy New Year. Then Orthodox Christmas on 6th in Armenia, 7th in other countries. So Merry Orthodox Christmas. Also Hanukkah passed a few days ago. It finished, I believe. Then we will have Chinese New Year, right? I actually don't know about concrete dates for this year. So yeah, happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, have a good one, everybody.